A very good morning to all and wishing you all a pleasant day. Myself, Dr.Hema Mehta, today is welcoming you all to Sanskar EduTech. We will be learning about what are the basics of intellectual property rights. But before that, it is must we should be knowing what is intellectual property rights. Also, we know that National Education Policy 2020 is emphasizing that the learners should be knowing what is intellectual property rights and they themselves can be the owner of the various types of intellectual property rights. So without waiting much, we are about to start with the different types of intellectual property rights. I still remember the students used to just, look at the board and draw the scenery without even asking a question to a teacher. What does scenery means and what does scenery includes? These are some screenshots taken from the mobile which are clearly portraying what scenery means. And if in our school days we would have gone through the dictionary meaning, I think we would have been drawing the best sceneries that we could. So the thing is that somewhere we even did not bother to ask our teachers what scenery is. Hence, I would be going through what intellectual property right is via this presentation. Specifically, this has been prepared for imparting classroom teaching for the learners and for the faculty members and even for the school kids. Lot many examples have been covered. And since today we are only covering copyright, one of the type of intellectual property right, there are apt number of examples taken in this, which I have taken from many of the secondary sources. And I did not intend to glorify or criticize or to promote someone or to promote any particular type of brand. So before we start with the session, if any such views, if you feel are trying to, hurt someone's sentiment, I seek apology because it is unintentional and there are a number of events on the basis of which this PowerPoint presentation has been prepared. Coming across with number of screenshots that I have taken are from various newspapers, many of the magazines, many of the online sources, and its usage is strictly restricted. Keeping in mind again that these are all someone's copyright and therefore we should not steal anyone's intellectual property rights. If any person intends to copy the same, I would advise that written permission for the same should be sought so that it does not amount to violation of anyone's intellectual property rights. Now, first thing is always before we start to know what exactly is intellectual property rights, we need to take a reverse technology technique to understand what is meaning of rights. So rights, I say, are something that allow me to enjoy a particular thing. Talking about property, in being a commerce student, generally also we speak property, we use the word property as an asset. And when it comes to intellectual, it is pertaining to your thought process. Basically, learners, they think intellectual means if we are very intelligent and I am able to create something out of my intelligence and I am, a top scorer in academics, then it becomes my intellectual property rights. It is not so. We all are being gifted by God with a very good brain, a very creative brain. And from early childhood, if you have realized how to utilize it, we are able to create something for us that is intellectual property right. I may be good in drawing designs. I would be good in drawing what we call it as logos, or maybe good in composing stories, would be good in composing poems. So all that which is coming out of my brain, which are the creation of my mind, they are known as intellectual property. So here I am trying to make you understand that property could be either tangible or it could be intangible. So the word tangible says which you are able to touch, you are able to see, which we are dividing into movable and immovable. So like if I have a jewelry, that comes into movable property. If I have a flat, I have a farmhouse or a plot of land, that goes into immovable category. Coming across intangible, which we may not be able to see, but we are able to feel. So initially this was divided into two branches. One is copyright and the other is industrial property, which is consisting today of many other types of intellectual property. Like we have patents, we have trademarks, we have designs, integrated circuits, plants and variety rights, and so on. So let's only concentrate on what is copyright. So when I was, trying to introduce about intellectual property, right, I very clearly have said it is the creation of our mind. I may not be good in my studies, but my mind would be very creative in doing some form of inventions. It could be literary, it could be artistic work, it could be drawing of certain types of designs, symbols, writing, composing of names, making of images which have commercial value. So today when we are talking about intellectual property rights, it is being protected by law. We are having copyright, patent, trademarks, industrial design, plant varieties and farmers' rights, undisclosed information, protection of integrated circuit, layout design, and geographical indicators. Now, all these types of intellectual property rights, they enable individual or the creator to earn recognition or to get financial benefit from whatever they have invented. So, before we go with, in-depth study of what is copyright, we need to understand what is meaning of discovery and how it is different from invention. Assuming one of my friend gifted me a pen set, which was very precious, and I have kept in a cupboard at a very secured place. After some days, I started searching for the same pen, and after a lot of time being wasted, I was able to locate that particular pen set. So this is, somewhere you have kept it and you have discovered it. This, in such cases, we use the word discovery. And basically, discovery is either happening accidentally or it is happening because of some purpose to be accomplished. It is a natural occurrence and therefore it does not get any intellectual property right. Very simple to say that things were already, in existence, but we had been able to find out after a certain period of time. Whereas in case of invention, some new ideas are developed, a new process is developed, a new type of formula is developed, which is trying to, save our time or do something in a very non-obvious, unique way. So because of some problem being identified, and then we start working on that, we start doing experimentation, and it is conceived because of the purpose being in front of us, we call invention has been made. The best example of the pandemic some years back we had faced, that was of Corona. And during the time of COVID-19, we were literally praying God that why not, some scientists invent some medicines or vaccines or some types of inhalers or tablets which will, curb down the mortality rate. So those scientists who worked out with these unique formulas, because of experimentation being done, because they had the purpose, all this goes under the category of inventions and they can be easily patented. So they get the intellectual property rights. Now, very frequently, this type of slides we have come across, maybe before watching a TV serial, or maybe when we are going in a cinema house. And now the number of things that they have added to this slide is also increasing. So it clearly says this is a work of fiction, names, characters, businesses, it could be places, events, not many things are the author's imagination. And they can be used in a fictitious manner. There is one Mr. X who is planning to make a movie, and he decided that in this movie we should be taking one character to play the role of a lady professor, and they decided to give the name to that professor as Dr. Hema Mehta. I have never met that person. It was fictitious, it was imaginary. And therefore, I cannot sue the person saying that you have taken my name and you are, trying to portray a wrong picture. It could be associated with any person who is living or dead, or, the actual events is purely coincidental. It happens like even at home. Today I would be thinking that once I reach home and I receive a gift, and the moment I reach home and I'm receiving a gift, it is what in general language we call it as telepathy. It is not that someone has stolen ideas from my mind. So today's session's contents are, we are going to cover up definition and scope of copyright. We'll understand what is Indian Copyright Act trying to say and its perspective. Assignment of copyright, infringement of copyright, remedies for infringement, and limitation to copyright. Now there is one question I remember some time back. A small kid, should be of 6 to 7 years of age, while attending the session has asked me that madam मैंने एक पिक्चर बनाया है, क्या उसका कॉपीराइट मुझे मिल सकता है? I said yes, absolutely, and he wanted to show me when the session was on live stream, and I requested the child not to show because the picture can also get copied. So let's understand in depth what is Copyright Act. So when we are opening our textbooks or maybe the guides or maybe the journals or maybe the workbooks, on second or third page we always come across with C encircled sign, which clearly says copyright, all rights are reserved. Let's understand what Oxford Dictionary wants to say. The exclusive right, this is given by law. So when we are talking about law, we are speaking with reference to the Copyright Act of 1957. For a certain term of years to an author, maybe to a composer, or maybe to an assignee to print, to publish, and sell copies of his or her original work. So let's understand what exactly is copyright. And the pictures which are, in the slide, let's understand even the pictures, why these pictures were being added. So copyright means the exclusive right that is given by the Copyright Act. Now it would be given to the creators. Somewhere we come across with the word like authors of literary, dramatics, musical, artistic work, producers of cinematographic films and sound recordings. In case of computer programs, the rights are exclusive with the person who has created that particular type of software or maybe hardware, and he or she has the right to sell it or give it for commercial rent, or maybe they offer to use it for some other computer programs itself. Now, C encircled clearly indicates that this is the copyright registration being done. Hence, we cannot copy someone's write-up or maybe the photograph and so on. And there is a picture of a chimpanzee. Now, this type of a chimpanzees are a very rare chimpanzees found in the forest of Thailand. So, especially in many of the countries, including our own country, the government is promoting us to get engaged in different types of research programs, the requisite funds for the same. So this team of scientists, when they had visited Thailand, they were aware about this particular chimpanzees and they were being included in the list of rare species. Means इनका population कम हो रहा है. So it is must to understand why is their population, coming at the point of extinct. Now, standing in front of a chimpanzees and clicking photographs is not so easy. So he has fixed a tripod stand on which he had fixed the camera with a timer. So they are able to click the photographs of these herds of chimpanzees visiting in that forest. And this scientist was able to hear the footstep sounds and he took the shelter behind a tree. Most of the chimpanzees were busy searching for food. And one of the chimpanzee could see that this was something very unique. And he started looking into the lens of the camera. And he could see his own replica, not able to understand whether it was his own image. He felt there is another chimpanzee inside this particular instrument. So the way when he was trying to show the expression, the same was getting reflected on the lens. And when he smiled, there was a sudden click. This picture became very popular. And then it was after some number of years, it came into controversy that the copyright, or you can say the intellectual property rights of this photograph, should it go to the scientist or should it go to the chimpanzee? And finally, it was like, even the animals are intelligence. So finally, this images, intellectual property right goes to the animal.